Action.
All right, guys. Sonographic evaluation. We left out. Remember, we had these questions. Hope you guys know these questions, right? Because you never know. I may or may not bring them questions back. Okay. So, sonographic evaluation. Basically, what do we do during the breast examination? I'm really though, like you guys can tell me a lot better. You know, I haven't done a breast in who knows when. You know what I mean? So you guys know a lot better. But what I remember and what the book says, what we going by. So, prior to scanning, of course, we're going to review all of our previous images, right? Like any other exam, we're going to look at the x-rays. We're going to look at, you know, whatever information that's provided for the mammogram, every piece of information regarding the breast exam, we're going to review that information so that we're able to best help this patient out. And, you know, to identify what we need to be looking in relationship to the breast. You know, the breast is it could be a big organ, you know, depending on the person, right? So you need to know what we need to focus at. Okay? So review those previous images, that clinical history, because a lot of times you're comparing like what we're discovering right now with the ultrasound and what we're comparing it to with the mammogram. We know that sometimes breast cancer can be progressive and can advance very fast. So you want to compare what we did last time to what we're doing right now. Okay. Pat, I know you do mammo. Feel free to jump in if you have additional information. Okay. And location of palpable masses, biopsy scars, or breast changes. Okay. And of course, the number one way that women find breast is, the number one way is their spouse actually finds the breast. Actually, a woman's spouse actually finds breast masses. That's the most common way to find breast masses. Okay. Transducer. Of course, we're going to use a high resolution transducer. Most of the time, guys, that's usually a 12 megahertz transducer, right? That we use. But now, with new technology, you know, we have higher frequency transducers all the way up to like 17 megahertz transducers. They're available to you guys in the clinic. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to be using a 12 megahertz transducer, real-time imaging, linear array, broadband.
Okay, which one you gonna be using on the test now?
I'm always, when we're talking about superficial structures, you know, we always want to go with the highest frequency. I may or may not bring that question back. that was, you know, but it said it specifically in the book, did it not? Did it not say it specifically? The highest frequency available. So that way you can't combat me because I read just like you read, right? So. Goodness, that is the question. The question gave you a list of transducers, right? It didn't say the highest frequency, but which one would you use? Doesn't say 12 megahertz or higher. See how you omit information? 12 megahertz or higher, with the 35 to 50 millimeter footprint. That's basically just saying it's just a wide transducer. Okay. The grayscale scannings, of course, you want to see all of the tissue from the skin all the way to the chest wall. You want to see all the way to the minor pectoral muscle. Okay. You're going to optimize the output power, TGC, overall gain, dynamic range. Man, that's like a recap. You know, focal zones, image size, and image depth. Just saying, optimize your images, guys. Optimize your images. Breast fat should have the same echo. That's important. I should have highlighted that in blue. Breast fat should have the same echogenicity throughout breast layers. Okay, so everything with the breast ultrasound is kind of the breast fat is actually the comparison to everything else that we use. Okay, the breast fat is good to have a good medium gray tone on your breast fat because that's what we're using to compare all the other structures of the breast to. Okay, because we know what the breast fat should look like. Okay, so if we find pathology, it's going to be compared to the breast fat. Same thing with everything being comparing the liver to the kidney. The liver is brighter than the kidney. You know, that person has, you know, probably have a fatty liver, right? If the kidney is brighter than the liver, that person probably has chronic kidney disease or something like that, or acute kidney infection. All right, same thing. All right. So again.
So that's why we're learning the layers of the fat of the breast.
Absolutely. Because that is so important to you scanning the breast that you know the layers, because or especially the fat layer, you know how it appears on the ultrasound, because you know everything else that we do is compared to that. It's compared to that. So the book said that the fat should be a medium gray tone, something like that, like a medium gray, you know, and everything else is going to be compared to that. Okay. Of course, we want to see from the skin line all the way to the pectoralis muscle right there, and we're going to use a high frequency transducer. That's probably a 12, by the way. Okay. So patient positioning. You want to minimize the thickness of the portion of the breast being examined. You guys may see that they may turn the patient up. The thing is, they're trying to do is get the breast to be as flat as possible, which is why you want to turn them up. You want to like turn the patient up. You want to have the upside, the other, whatever breast you're doing the left breast, you want to turn with the side up that you're doing. Okay, if I'm doing the right breast, you want to oblique that person, because what you're trying to do, you're trying to get that breast to be flat on an even surface, because we know, sometimes breasts, they can just splay out, right? And they'll just be, if you're laying flat, right, they'll just go to the side, right? So you're just trying to get them as flat as possible. That's the most professional way I can say that, guys.
You want to kind of put the nipple in profile.
Exactly, right there. I like that. You want to put the nipple in the profile, okay? Get that breast to be as even as you can, so you'll turn that person up to the upside breast, okay? Again, in a supine oblique or contralateral oblique, depending on which breast you're doing, okay? Roll the patient about 30 to 45 degrees. A lot of times people can't stay in those positions for very long, so you want to like get you, if you have one of those sponges that you can put under the patient that help them stay in that position. A lot of times people, can't always just roll over and stay in that position and be still. Okay, so definitely do that. You want to be more oblique for large breasts or lateral regions. Again, I wish I had some kind of model where I can display what I'm trying to say. Where you want that breast to be not oblique. You want it to be straight. The nipple to be looking straight up at the ceiling. Okay. Want to get that's the arm, the adjacent arm raised to the axilla. Everybody can't do this. You guys know this. Everybody can't put their hands behind their back and take deep breaths. So, if you can, whatever you have to help raise that person's arm will be helpful. Okay. Breast appear flat and the nipple is centered. Palpable masses may need to be scanned in the same position as they are felt. Again, like sometimes you guys know, like I may have a person in a perfect position, but that's not the way the patient feels that mass. So you may have to do what you have to do to get that mass to be as superficial as possible, meaning that I can't get that person in the contralateral oblique or oblique position. I may have to scan that person in whatever position. Sometimes people can only feel stuff when they're standing up, right? Y'all ever seen somebody like, oh, I felt something, but you get guys doing this with the scrotum, where they'll be fumbling around with the scrotum and they can't, I feel it right here, you know what I mean? And then you have to scan while they're sitting up, you know what I mean? So same thing with the breast, you just have to be flexible if you can't see a mass where the patient is in the perfect position. Okay. Mimic mammographic views for correlation. Okay. Nothing else need to be said about that. So we're going to talk about those mammographic views in a second, the two that we need to mimic. All right, so here's some images right here, guys. Of course, our goals are to minimize the breast thickness, which is why you kind of turn that patient up, right? And then you're gonna want to have some reproducibility. Whatever we correlate with our previous exams, our mammograms, or whatever we have, whatever information we have, we want to be able to reproduce that, okay, via ultrasound. All right, and a position should be same side arm and hand beneath head, if they can do that. Supine, the cubitus, such as the nipple directed towards the ceiling. I put the slide on here. I didn't even read that, but yeah, that was nipple to the ceiling. Okay? Similar to this position right here, guys. That's how you want to scan right there. All right. So, scan procedure technique. It just depends. Most of the time you're going to be doing a targeted scan most of the time, but sometimes they may not know exactly where a breast lesion lies, and you may have to do an entire breast scan. Okay, meaning that you're going to either break that breast down into quadrants, or you're going to break that breast down into the clock 1 to 12. You know what I mean? Just like a face clock. Okay. We're still going to get the same views, sagittal, transverse, are the views we're going to get. We're also going to get radial and anti-radial scan planes. And I have an image showing what that is. Radial meaning that we're going around the breast because we know that the functional layer of the breast is lined up radial to the nipple. So that's why that's important to see the radial and anti-radial scans for the best lobar anatomy, to see the major lactiferous ducts and masses related to the nipple, because everything that's leading to the nipple is going to be radial to that. Radial to that. View the variety of beam angles, like steering and rocking your transducer, angling in large areas of interest, and focus at the level of the masses. Like sometimes, guys, you know how I tell you guys I don't always scan like directly on something, right? I always try to, you know, catch a different angle because it may be larger than what it appears if I just happen to scan directly on it, or I may not be gathering information. I'm trying to think of an example when I tell you guys I don't scan directly. Like if I'm doing a kidney, for example, I told you I may be lateral angled medially to see my whole kidney, right? Because I may just have a better window that way. You know, same thing with the breast. You got to try many different angles and many different approaches to identify these masses. Okay, vary the pressure, increase pressure flattens the Cooper ligaments, which can, you know, prohibit visualization. Okay, it eliminates the false occlusive shadowing, and varies compressibility and movement of masses. That's super important that we that you know if a mass is compressible or not. Okay, we do have new technology. I'm going to cover it a little bit later. It's called elastography. Did you guys see them use it in the clinic? Elastography. It's like it's a the ultrasound transducer itself can actually send out pressure beam. They're called shear wave. Called shear wave. They can actually send out pressure sound beams down to the mass. And this mass can, and depending on the stiffness of the mass, you know, more stiff nodules tend to be cancerous. So depending on the stiffness, the reading that comes back with the transducer, it can determine whether this mass is likely to be malignant or likely to be benign. It's technology. You're gonna learn it as it being new, but it's new to ultrasound, not necessarily new. Period. You know what I mean? So I know. When you guys are breast, make sure you guys are paying attention because they do use that elastography technique. It's two different kinds. I'm going to cover the one about shear wave. We're going to talk about it in physics as well. Okay, but I just want to input that right now. But that's kind of like the compressibility factor. Another look, like, you know, just like Color Doppler is an app. It's like it's an add-on that you can add to your machine. That every machine doesn't have it because it may cost like $20,000 to have that technology on it. So, okay. So these are our typical positions right here, guys. You know these positions right here, transverse and sagittal positions. But you also have radial, meaning that we're going with the angle or going radially around the clock, just like a clock, right? And then you have what's called anti-radial, which is just 90 degrees to that. Okay, so don't forget when you're doing breast, the transducers it still have to be to the right. Okay, so when I'm at 12 o'clock. I'm still gonna have my leading edge to the top, right to the head. Okay. But when I get to 1 o'clock, like in this radial position, then my leading edge needs to be medial. Needs to be right here. My leading edge right here, my lateral edge on this side. On 12, it's gonna be leading edge up here. So you see what I mean by you have to change that position? No? We're good, Myra? Okay.
So when you're 1 o'clock, the leading edge, for example, with the left breast doesn't go towards 1 o'clock. The leading edge goes the other way towards the nipple.
It's from 12 to 1.
To 1.
And that's me talking to trust me, I tried to get some information before I came in here. That's me talking to a breast technologist before I came in. Is that how they're doing it?
I never heard of that.
Really?
No. Maybe that's just what she does. Maybe that's her technique. I never
Okay. I talked to 2 people this weekend because I'm really trying to get this information, because it's not like I have a whole bunch of breast experience. Okay. But if so, I'll ask Ms. Shepherd to be 100% clear of that. Most importantly, know our transducer scan planes: transverse, sagittal, radial, meaning we're going around the clock, and anti-radial, meaning you're going 90 degrees to that. Okay. And again, we have this is how the breasts are broken down into either quadrants, right upper outer quadrant, right upper inner quadrant, so on and so forth, or like a clock, 12, 3, 6, and 9. So depending on where the breast is, where the breast mass is, like this breast mass right here is exactly at 9 o'clock. And what you're using is that nipple in relationship to the to differentiate the quadrants and the face clock of that breast, using that nipple, okay?